And so, with Sarah's growing belly and the sound of the new car engine replacing the roaring Harley in the garage, Luca's life slowly transformed into a symphony of small and large revolutions. The house, once the scene of painful memories, began to shine with a new, almost magical light, thanks to the love and tenacity of the two lovers. The first months after Luca's return were intense. Every morning, at dawn, he went out into the courtyard to breathe in the fresh air and let himself be caressed by the soft light of the sun, as if he wanted to rewrite his destiny together with that new hope. Sarah, meanwhile, dedicated herself to the care of their little oasis, a garden that had begun to take shape with the help of neighbors and friends, a place where every flower represented a memory, a victory against the past. Luca, who had always loved mechanics and the freedom of the streets, found comfort in repairing old tools and restoring forgotten furniture. Every scratch, every crack, was seen as a scar of life, a testimony of difficult moments overcome with strength and determination. In those hands, worn by work and sacrifice, lay the ability to give new life to what seemed destined for oblivion. The evenings were full of chatter under the porch, where the old grandfather clock, inherited from his mother, marked time in an almost hypnotic way, reminding everyone that every moment was precious. Luca and Sarah were not alone in that rebirth. The neighborhood, once cold and distant, was beginning to show itself in a different light, thanks to the awakening of the community. The neighbors, initially skeptical, over time joined in small gestures of solidarity. Some brought a cake, others offered gardening advice, and even Aunt Roberta, once so harsh and uncompromising, found the courage to open up and talk about her regrets and lost dreams. The transformation was almost unreal, as if the past, with all its scars, was giving way to a present full of new possibilities. One day, while Luca was tidying up the old porch, news came that deeply affected him. An art exhibition was about to open in the center of Milan, and among the works on display was a cycle of paintings inspired by real-life stories, tales of pain, hope and redemption. He couldn't help but think of Tommaso Preti, the man who had welcomed him when all seemed lost, and decided to participate. On that occasion, Luca also met other artists and writers, people who had transformed pain into beauty. Thus was born an unexpected collaboration, an illustrated book, a collection of true stories, entitled Strada di Rinascita, which combined the strength of real-life experiences with the evocative power of art. Writing that book became a journey of self-discovery for Luca. Each chapter was a stage in his inner journey, a tribute to those who had crossed his path and taught him the value of humility and courage. Between the pages, there were anecdotes that spoke of nights spent under the starry sky, of conversations with people who had suffered and, at the same time, found the strength to smile. He told of how, that morning when Tommaso Preti had offered him a biscuit and a hope, life could change in an instant, transforming a simple gesture into a life lesson. Meanwhile, Sarah, with her sweet determination, prepared to welcome the new member of the family. The visits to the gynecologist were full of anticipation and little shivers, while every echo of the baby's heartbeat seemed to promise a better future. The evenings, instead, were illuminated by long conversations between her and Aunt Roberta. Sitting by the fireplace, shared stories of youth and regrets, trying to redeem herself by recounting mistakes and bad choices. Each story was a piece of the great mosaic of life, and Sarah learned to see in every difficulty an opportunity to grow. A particularly memorable event occurred during a neighborhood party organized to celebrate the new season. Luca, with his contagious cheerfulness, led a group of friends in an old local tradition, an impromptu race, not of speed, but of stories. Each one, in turn, told an episode of their life, and whoever had the most touching story was symbolically crowned guardian of memory. That day was not only a celebration of the past, but a hymn to the resilience of those who, like Luca, had been able to transform pain into art and love. The laughter of a child, the sound of a guitar in the background, and the notes of an old song, completed that magical atmosphere, uniting them in a collective embrace of hope. Time passed, and with it the child grew. Every small achievement, from the first word to the first uncertain steps, was welcomed as a victory. Luca, now a man marked by experiences, dedicated himself with passion to his new mission, to be not only a father, but a mentor for the youth of the neighborhood. He organized mechanics workshops, where he taught the kids how to repair broken objects, transmitting to them the value of manual labor and patience. In those meetings, life stories and practical advice were intertwined, and the neighborhood, once divided, began to rediscover its sense of community. But life was never without challenges. A particularly harsh winter brought with it not only sub-zero temperatures, but also an unexpected economic crisis that threatened to bring down the small, renovated neighborhood. Luca, with his tireless determination, did not give up. He organized a series of meetings and fundraisers, involving artisans, merchants, and even the mayor of the city, to safeguard not only his home, but the entire community. It was a time of intense collaboration, where differences were put aside and each person came together to build a better future. During those meetings, between lively discussions and ambitious plans, Luca rediscovered the power of unity and the strength that comes when people decide to fight together for a common ideal. Overcoming that winter was like a collective rebirth. The difficulties gave way to new opportunities, and the community was rewarded with the creation of a cultural center, a place where exhibitions, concerts, and reading evenings could be organized. Luca and Sarah, now protagonists not only of their own story, but also of that of the neighborhood, became symbols of a shared hope. Their lives, intertwined by a destiny that had seen them face 1,000 obstacles, now shone with a new light, made of resilience, love, and renewed faith in the future. As the child grew, family evenings came alive with games, laughter, and the sweet melody of a life that, despite everything, had found its rhythm. Luca, looking at the little boy with eyes full of pride and gratitude, knew that every sacrifice, every sleepless night, had had a meaning. He had become a father, a companion, a man who had learned to forgive himself and others, transforming pain into a creative force capable of changing the world around him. And so, in the streets of a neighborhood that was no longer just a place, but a living and breathing community, Luca's story turned into an urban legend. A story that spoke of rebellion, of rebirth, of how life, even when it seems destined to sink into darkness, can shine with the light of love and solidarity. With his passion for motorcycles now faded, Luca had found a new path, that of humanity, of mutual respect, and of continually moving forward, always with an eye on tomorrow. Over the years, Luca became a reference figure not only for the neighborhood, but for the entire city. His words, full of experience and wisdom, inspired young and old to believe in themselves and fight for their dreams. In every story, in every gesture, the awareness shone through that, even in the most difficult moments, there was always a spark of hope ready to illuminate the path. And while time continued its inexorable flow, the story of Luca, Sarah, and their little corner of paradise remained imprinted in the hearts of anyone who had the privilege of listening to it, reminding everyone that, sometimes, just one act of kindness is enough to change the course of a life.